Okay, I think we can slowly start. So thank you once again, everyone, for joining. So we have a second webinar today about a Zabbix Cloud. And before we start about the Zabbix Cloud as such, a couple of important notes, everyone will have a chance to receive a presentations. Like if you are here and you're signed up, we'll do our best to deliver a presentation to you via email. And at the end of the webinar, at the end of the presentation, I'm also gladly going to answer all of the questions that you might have and encounter during the presentation. So no matter what's the question, don't hesitate to ask it. The only thing is that, as we learned from the first webinar today, the chat tab is disabled. So if you want to ask the question, there is right next to it, at least on my screen, it's on the right side, Q&A tab. Where go ahead, ask the questions, and yeah, most likely in the beginning of the presentation, I'm gonna go through all the list. And well, yeah, straightforward. The topic is Zabbix Cloud, and today is like a little a week since the release of the Zabbix Cloud, right? The last Tuesday, October 1, in the morning, I believe it came like quite a big surprise to most of you. Like we're actually working pretty hard for quite a long time to develop this product and make sure that it reaches the audience and our user and is like good enough and ready for like production use. And yeah, without any like previous warm up and previous warning, October 1st, we released the Zabbix Cloud. And the simple question, so what exactly is a Zabbix Cloud? And in a simple words, a Zabbix Cloud is basically the same good old Zabbix monitoring software that you have used to, for those who were working with it previously, and maybe for those who just tuned in and maybe are new to the monitoring or just new to the Zabbix as a monitoring software. What's important is that Zabbix is like open source monitoring tool, available for everyone for free, that you can download it, install it in your local servers or in your AWS tenant or Azure or virtual machine, whatever else. But Zabbix Cloud is basically a SaaS and PaaS platform, which allows you to deploy the Zabbix installation in the clouds, where we manage everything that is happening in the background, like including all the complicated work in terms of like tuning, security patches, upgrades, fixing, making sure that the system runs, and you get just the good part to use the Zabbix frontend, set up the monitoring, monitor your hosts, data centers, offices, business services, anything else, set up the triggers, watch the graphs, get notified about when something happens. And as any SaaS service, it is based on the subscription model. So basically, you are able to choose from 7 different tiers that are available right now. Starting with the smallest one, there's going to be a separate slides where we talk about each tier of the detail, but like the main metric and the main metric that determines the pricing is basically NVPS. And for those who are working with a Zabbix for a while, it's probably already clear, like, okay, we know what NVPS is. For those who are not, we are basically talking about the new values per second. And that is a metric which is calculated based on the number of metrics that you want to monitor. And by metrics, we mean like CPU utilization, memory utilization, free disk space, incoming traffic, outgoing traffic, availability of MySQL. Like each of those is a separate metric. And then we need to know the update interval, like how frequently exactly you want to receive this data, whether it's something like super sensitive and you want to monitor it every single second. So every second you get a new value, which is usually not the case. Usually it's like around a minute, maybe even 5 minutes, maybe even an hour. And by taking number of the metrics and dividing with the update interval, you will get the new values per second. So then you will understand like which tier do you actually need. And right now for the beginning, we have 5 regions available where you can set up your Zabbix cloud node. And right now, that's those are two regions in the Europe, Frankfurt and Ireland. We have Sao Paulo, Singapore in Asia, and North Virginia in the USA. More coming soon. How soon? It strictly like depends from the feedback and also from demand. Like we don't have any strict technical limitations to add more regions, but we also like don't want to add all of them at once, right? So if let's say you are from United States or we're from Asia or Latin America, and you do think based on your experience, like in this region, that some more regions are required for you, and you have some specific reasoning behind that, just let us know, and I'm sure that we can find like solutions so that everyone is happy. Another important fact is that we released the Zabbix Cloud in October 1, and we released it as early access release, right? And many might question like what does exactly it means, whether or not the Zabbix Cloud is like suitable for the production right now. Can you use it for the production monitoring, or is it in some testing phase and some issues could happen or stuff like that? And I can say that the Zabbix Cloud is fully production ready right now with all of the core functionality, and emphasize on the core functionality, ready and in place for you to use it. And the only reasoning behind the early access is we really wanted to be careful, and we wanted to keep in mind the user experience with the new product, because I'm sure I did, and I'm sure you also had some experience in the past with the release of the new products, not necessarily related to the monitoring, whatever. And it's pretty much a common thing that whenever during the release dates, like due to the load, it becomes like very slow, which causes like bad user experience. Web page is not responsive. You cannot log in. You cannot do some stuff. We really wanted to avoid that, and that's why the early access, which gives the only limitation, sort of limitation, is that we manually accept all the applications, because we just wanted to make sure that we are in the control of all the load that is being put on a system. But I can tell straight away that there were no, let's say, negative surprises, and everything went pretty smooth, just like we planned. And right now, there are no um, no bad things that would prevent us from accepting new people. So if you just tuned in, and after this presentation you decide that you want to try, go ahead. You can always go to the cloud.zabbix.com and apply for the registration, and we get you accepted in like a couple of hours probably. What are the benefits of the SaaS platform in terms of if we talk about the Zabbix Cloud? And I can tell like from my experience talking with all sort of different people who either are already into the monitoring, they might be already into the monitoring with the Zabbix, they might be into the monitoring without the Zabbix, or they might be just thinking that, yeah, that's something that we would need. But if we talk about some small companies and small groups of the people, the usual problem and hustle is like, we know that we need it. We're pretty small. We have like, I don't know, let's say 50, maybe 100 servers. We would really want to monitor them, but we don't really have technical staff who is experienced in the technologies that are required to run the stack of the monitoring for the Zabbix. And by that, we usually talk about like knowledge in the Linux, ability to migrate from different distributions, different versions. It's also required to have at least a base understanding in SQL databases like MySQL or Postgres, being able to tune all of those databases, tune Zabbix configuration file, troubleshoot something whenever you're not able to configure this or that, do the security patches. It takes some knowledge. And if we talk about the small companies as example, for them, hiring additional people who would be responsible for doing that stuff pretty much is the deal breaker to actually go with a Zabbix or any other monitoring tool. And the Zabbix Cloud is like a perfect solution for that, because as I said, like we handle all the complicated work. if you are worried about upgrading the Zabbix, doing the minor upgrades or the major upgrades, that is happening in the background by us, and it is included like in the subscription price for your cloud node. If you're worried about the database tuning and making sure that you get the best performance out of your node, that as well is covered by us in scope of subscription of your cloud node, no matter the tier, like even the smallest one. Security fixes, like if let's say you have a self-hosted server and suddenly you wake up in a Sunday morning and there's some new vulnerability which is found out and all internet is blown up, then you need to worry about that. In case of the Zabbix cloud, again, we need to worry about that. The great point is also that with the Zabbix cloud, you can scale as you go. So I will get to the point of the multiple tiers, but the good thing is that you don't need to start with the highest one, and obviously the lowest one is also the cheapest one. I can say right away, like the cheapest node in the Zabbix cloud costs you only $50 per month. $50 per month, which also includes a 10 gigabytes of free storage that we included in the tiers. So that's it. You only need to pay $50 and we will take care about like everything that has to happen in the background for your monitoring to work. And it's absolutely clear that despite Zabbix being like in the market for quite a while, and those who use Zabbix already know that the company is very well established and reliable with its own reputation and so on. But the Zabbix cloud as a product is still very new, right? We released just a week ago, and we also do understand that well, not everyone, but mostly majority of the users will be very careful before they actually jump into the Zabbix cloud and switch all of their production monitoring to the cloud, where they don't have a lot of this control over the environment. So we give you this opportunity like to start small and transition maybe just a couple of the servers. And as you grow, as you notice that the monitoring environment grows and you need more new values per second, you need to monitor more hosts, more items, you can always scale, you can upgrade your compute tier to receive like even higher performance. Stay up to date with the latest security patches. As I said, like we do everything in the background. You don't need to worry about that at all. And essentially, like that is what a Zabbix cloud is. So for anyone like again who have not tried it yet over this period of the week, the registration is open cloud.zabbix.com, or you can just go to the zabbix.com and it's going to be very hard to miss all of the news and banners about the release of the cloud. There's going to be the separate landing page where you also can read about what are the perks and what are the things about the cloud. When you go to the cloud landing page itself, cloudzabbix.com, in the bottom of the screen on the right side, you will also find the terms of service, privacy policy, which is definitely something people will be interested about, especially when we're talking about cloud hosted solutions, right? Like we don't have any secrets. We tell you straight away, let's say the cloud is based on the AWS. For the payments, we use Stripe. Data-wise, everything, your user's content is stored in the same region where you created your node, and you are being able like to choose where exactly this is happening. So about the tiers. Tiers are for everyone, and that's also one of the prettiest things I've already mentioned a couple of times. Like the Zabbix cloud is not a product for large corporations, and the Zabbix cloud is not a product so that would be meant only just for SMBs or just maybe for some technical geeks who just want to monitor their servers at home. Zabbix cloud is pretty much for everyone, and you as a user, as a customer, can decide how much invested you want to be in the cloud. Like, as I said, you can scale as you go. And whenever, if you just want to try out, you can start with a nano tier, which includes the 50 new values per second. So remember, we talked about these metrics, update intervals, and number of hosts. And 50 NVPS, it might seem small. And I would say, like, if we talk about the real real production monitoring environments, 50 Mbps and indeed is not large metric, but at the same time, it is suitable to support like 5,000 of metrics. And remember, one metric is like CPU load. That's one metric. Incoming traffic, second metric. Outgoing traffic, third metric. And you can have like 5,000 of those. So you pretty much can monitor I don't know, hundreds of servers, right? Considering that each of them could have like 50 metrics and stuff like that. And in a nano tier, as I said, also we include free of the charge 10 gigabytes of the storage. So when you decide that, okay, you've outgrown this tier, and there are two things that you can outgrow. One thing is the tier based on NVPS, like, okay, you're adding some servers, you see like, hey, I'm already like hitting the ceiling and I'm living on like 45 to 50 Mbps, so I need more. You can always upgrade. You can go to the micro. Maybe you decided, okay, I played around with the cloud. I got answers that I was looking for. I'm willing to entrust monitoring of my production environment, and I want to upgrade like straight to the medium. You can do that as well. And at the same time, it's possible that perhaps 50 Mbps is fully enough for you, but 10 gigs are not, because you want to store 3 years of the history, right? For the sake of seeing the graphs and watching the reports. So 10 gigs will not be sufficient. You can increase the storage size of your node separately from the node tier as such. So you can still have like 50 Mbps instance having, let's say, 500 gigabytes of the storage. And storage, it's possible to increase it to up to 16 terabytes, and the price is static along all the way. And the price is 30 cents per gigabyte, right? And remember, the first 10 gigabytes are free of charge. And here the pricing, which it's not entirely static, because like, okay, the price for the compute tier, which limits the NVPS you can achieve, will be the same all the time, but the storage may change. Like, this is the recommended storage size that we recommend for people to select. But again, if you are familiar with a Zabbix and with a monitoring, then maybe you already know that your specific use case might require maybe less storage. Maybe you're not interested in storing the historical data at all, or maybe it's completely opposite, and like, you know, that you don't need to monitor as many items, but you definitely need to keep them for multiple years, which will force you to have a higher storage on your node, which can also leave some effect on the final price. And another like good thing and simple thing for the users, the costs and expenses on the cloud are super transparent. And if we compare this to some, let's say, other cloud-based monitoring solution, when you sort of are questioning every month how much exactly I'm going to pay in the end, because there's usually some fixed price, and then it can increase based on like how much data you have to transferred, how much metrics you have collected over some period of time, or let's say how many users were working in the front end. In a Zabbix cloud, it's super straightforward. As I mentioned, like NVPS tiers and storage are the only factors that are determining your costs at the end of the month. We don't care how much hosts you have. We don't care how much items you have or triggers or how many users will be working in the front end daily. Everything depends like on you. The only thing is NVPS and a storage. And if you know that, let's say, having a medium node with 1000 new values per second ceiling and 250 gigabytes of the storage, no matter how you will use it, the bill at the end of the month will not be higher than $825.08, no matter of your configuration, right? Which is very good, because it's super transparent and easy to estimate like what it's gonna look like at the end of the month. How can you actually deploy your Zabbix Cloud node? And I also think it's super important to mention that, let's say, whenever you sign up to the cloud, it doesn't mean that you can get one node, right? You sign up as a user, we accept you, and you can create multiple nodes. You can create one node in North Virginia, you can create second node in Asia, third node in Europe, and fourth somewhere else, which means that the Zabbix Cloud is a perfect solution for MSPs. And if you want to provide a monitoring as a service to your customers, or perhaps you already providing monitoring as a service to your customers, but you are the one who's responsible in like patching, security fixes, upgrades, and all of that stuff. Transitioning to the cloud could save you a lot of the time and a lot of the resources, because there will be a separate slide about the security, but I can tell right away that all of the instances are 100% segregated. And if you deploy like a separate node for each of the customer to whom you provide the services, you may be 100% sure that they their data won't meet each other, like not even a theory. Those are absolutely separated nodes, separate instances. Everything is 100% segregated. And when you decide to deploy a new node, as you can see, there are just four parameters that you actually need to choose to get this up and running. The first one is the name, and we'll suggest also something based on our automatic generation, but if you want, you can override that. And based on the name of the node, it's also going to determine what's actually going to be the address to access Zabbix frontend. Like in this case, like if I create this node, the address to access my Zabbix frontend is going to be firstpaper.zabbix.cloud. And that's going to basically be the host name of my Zabbix instance. Same if I am talking about like, okay, I know that I have a Zabbix server in the clouds. What should I enable in my firewalls? How should I configure my proxies? How should I configure my agent? Which was one of the tough decisions for us to make, to be honest, but decision was made. And I can say that right now, anyone who creates the node in a Zabbix cloud is assigned with a static IPv4 address. So anyone who creates a node, like this example, the first paper, when it's created, we'll have the static IPv4 address, which is going to be like firstpaper.zabbix.cloud is going to resolve to that IP address. So you don't need to worry about like whitelisting everything in the firewall and managing all sort of the external monitoring components. You can set it once and it's going to be with you for the lifetime of your node. Then obviously like choosing the region where you want to set up the node, whether it's USA, Europe, Asia, Latin America, you can choose. Compute, like where do you want to start? And here you choose like one from those 7 tiers, starting with a nano, which is the smallest and the cheapest one, offering the 50 new values per second. Then you can upgrade, like if you need, where you can start right away with a bit more higher node, right? And then there's the disk size, like 10 gigs free, as you can see here in the pricing estimation, compute including 10 gigabyte free storage, $50 without VAT will be the final bill at the end of the month. If you need more, then just move the slider. We will do the calculation. 10 gigs will still be free of the charge, and you will pay 30 cents for every extra gigabyte that you need. So once the node is created, you can also access the node configuration. And as I said, like right now, after the release of the cloud during the early access, we have all the core functionality ready to provide the production ready monitoring, the enterprise ready monitoring. But it doesn't mean that we're like 100% settled on the product and we don't have anything in our roadmap and anything in the plans. Essentially, like with a time, the cloud UI will become like a fully control panel of your monitored environment. That will be the place where you can transparently see everything that is happening with all of the cloud instances that you have. You will be able to see like all of the configuration, and here you can see the tabs. Like for each node, you can set up the access filters, meant like the firewalls. You can set up encryption, because considering that the Zabbix cloud server node is in the clouds, right, in the public network, and most likely you will want to monitor something on-prem. So people will be worried enough about the security to make sure that the data channel is secured, all of the history data and including the configuration data is protected. That's why it is an option to set up encryption between the components of the Zabbix. There still is like a tab for the upgrade. If you decided, okay, I've outgrown my tier and it's time to upgrade either the compute or the storage. Tab for a backup, where you can manually create as many backups as you need, and also free of the charge. Well, you already pay for that by paying for your node. We include the once a week automated backup of the node. So if you go with a nano, like once per 7 days, we will automatically create a backup from which you will be able to restore if something bad happens. History retention. Also, this is configurable from the Cloud UI. Like here, you choose for how long do you want to keep the history, how long do you want to keep the audit records, and everything like is reflected to the node itself. And the maintenance, where it is a mandatory thing to specify like at least one period over a week when you are ready to have some maintenance on your node. So that is going to be the time to work for us when we patch and upgrade everything. And aside, like what you can see here is the front end URL. Like if you want to access your Zabbix front end, there are the password settings. Like if you forgot the password for your admin user, you can reset it or copy it from here. Address of the server, as I said, like this will resolve to the static IPv4 address. Current configuration of the compute storage region, version of the Zabbix, and the current disk utilization. And the payment info, like we can see that the next billing date is going to be November 1 in 28 days, and the total payment will going to be $60.50, from which $10.50 are going to be the VAT. You can also cancel subscription at any time. Like if you decide that, okay, I know I tried the cloud and I still want to be on-prem, you can just cancel the subscription, continue to use the node until end of the period for which you have paid, and then it's going to be deleted, including also the customer content. Like we don't have any need or obligation to keep your data after you don't want to stay with us anymore. Scale as you go. So at the time, as I said, when you see and you decide that, okay, you have outgrown your initial configuration of the tier, like nano and 10 gigs of the storage, you can always go to the upgrade tab, choose the compute to which you want to upgrade. Like in this example, it's a micro tier, which has a 100 new values per second, not a 50. And in this case, the user also has chosen that, okay, 10 gigs of the storage is not enough. Let's go to the 90 gigs. And if we talk about a compute, there are no limitations. You can upgrade as much as you want. Even within a period like of a day, you can upgrade from nano to the micro, and after 5 minutes, upgrade from a micro to the large. And you can also go down. So if you upgraded like to the large, and after some time, your boss comes and says like, "Hey, we need to decommission this data center," you can remove all the monitoring like from the Zabbix, go to Cloud UI, and downgrade your node from the large again to the micro, which will obviously decrease the bill at the end of the month. But if we talk about the storage right now and currently, it's possible only to go up. So if you increase your storage size to 90 gigs, you won't be able to get below that anymore. That's one thing. And the second thing is that it's possible to increase the storage only once per 24 hours. We do have plans, so let's call it like that, in the roadmap to also provide ability to downgrade the storage, but we just need to work a little bit on it just to make sure that for no matter the choice you make, the customer's content size is like less than the new storage size than you choose. So it's a small check, and eventually we'll also allow to downgrade. Otherwise, you kind of become like trapped if you, I don't know, maybe accidentally increase it to more than you need. And a node maintenance. Node maintenance, where you first of all, you have the opportunity to choose the time zone for each node. And again, like if we talk about MSPs, maybe one of your customers in one time zone and someone else is in a second time zone, so you can easily like segregate all of them in your Cloud UI itself. And you need to set up at least 1 hour, right? It's not going to be possible to opt out completely. 1 hour is the least that we need. If you are not worried so much about actually happening some maintenances, and perhaps you I don't know, you're curious only about the business hours, then you can enable the maintenance like for 1 hour every evening or late night. It'll just mean that whenever we have something new to deploy on a cloud, may it be your node or the Zabbix upgrade or some security fixes, you will get it like faster. Otherwise, like if let's say you have the maintenance period set up only to the Monday, and today is Tuesday, and today we release some new functionality on nodes, then you will get the update only next Monday, so only after a week. And obviously, same applies like if we're fixing some bugs, upgrading Zabbix version, and stuff like that. So, what exactly is happening? The maintenance time is three things that can happen. First of all, the major Zabbix version upgrade, like upgrade from 7.0 to the 7.2 to the 7.4 and so on. For this, we will definitely give you the time to prepare. Like we do understand that the major upgrade is not something you just do with a snap of the finger, and perhaps you have some on-premise proxies, scripts, integrations that you need to care about, right? So yeah, we will warn you. Like we have not really decided yet like on the time frame, but the idea is like, okay, that when we know, let's say the 7.2 is released and we do all the internal testing and everything to make sure that, okay, this is ready to be deployed on the cloud, we will warn you 2 weeks in advance and say that, okay, your node is going to be upgraded to the 7.2 after 2 weeks during your maintenance period. And we'll also give a little bit flexibility to the users. So you will have ability to opt out and opt out for the limited time. Not completely. Eventually, you'll have to upgrade, but you will be able to say like, "Hey, I'm not ready to do this after 2 weeks. Let's do it after a month." And essentially, we'll have the limitation. Very likely, it's going to be like a month period within which you can play around and say like, "Let's delay it." Or let's do it like after a week, or maybe I'm like brave enough to say, let's upgrade now. I don't want to wait at all. As far as it goes for the minor version upgrade, here we will be like less informative because there's close to zero chances actually that something goes wrong and much less work to do for us. So we will do that during selected maintenance period that you have. Automatically, it's going to be very short maintenance, like 5, maybe 10 minutes tops, and you get your new version. Platform upgrade, this will be mostly related like the security fixes, patching of third-party libraries, patching and upgrades of the database, operating system distribution, and then stuff like that. That has also happened in the background. If you have selected maintenance period, let's say once a week is a mandatory thing, it doesn't necessarily mean that we will actually do something every week. It is just a window when if we have something to deliver on your node, then we'll do that. And I know it's missing on the slides, but I think it's also important to mention like the backups. Right now, as I said, like once per 7 days, automatic backup is included in the price of the node, and you can make as much as backups as possible, but with a couple of things that you need to keep in mind. The backup right now is the full backup of your node, which includes configuration, which includes the history data of the Zabbix for everything. And backups right now are basically tied to the node. So if you have a node and you're doing your monitoring, setting up everything, configuration, doing all this stuff, then eventually you decide to delete the node, backups will be gone together with the node. And there's no ability right now to download the backups or export them to some third-party storage or like S3 and AWS or something like that. But this is something which is like on a very high level in our roadmap for us to work on. We will definitely rework the backups and give users more flexibility. One of the things that we definitely want to do is like separate the backup from the node itself, making sure that let's say you can create a backup of this node, delete it, and still keep the backup. And then after like month or 6 months, whatever, when the times come, you can create a new node using the backup which you already have in your library. We also definitely want to give users the functionality to create configuration backup or the history backup, because those will obviously differ quite a lot in terms of disk size. And disk size is the one which determines like how much you will actually have to pay for the backup. Like if you're backing up 10 gigabyte node, it's going to be like super cheap. I think it was $1 or something for a month. And if you have an instance with a 16 terabytes, then obviously it's going to be quite a bit more expensive. That is to come in well, I really want to say a near future, and by near future I mean that we're probably talking about a Q1 of the next year. Like since we released very recently, and before the release, like we already knew some features that we still want to develop, but we can add them like even after the release. There's also some demand of the users, and yeah, so the pool of the things that we want to do and people want us to do is like pretty big. So we'll try to prioritize and make sure that the most important stuff is delivered first. Zabbix cloud upgrade. Yeah, sorry, I just scrolled down. Support options. Any instance in the cloud, whenever you log into the cloud, you also will see the tab called support. But it's very important to not confuse yourself, because Zabbix Cloud offers the support, but it is a platform support and not a product support. The support that you can get in the Zabbix Cloud is not the same that you can get if you, let's say, purchase the commercial support service, the one that you can find in the zabbix.com/services. Choose like enterprise, gold, global, whatever else. In the platform support, the questions that we do want to cover is, as example, my node is not available, right? I've created a node just now and it just doesn't work. I cannot access my front end. That is included in the support of the Zabbix Cloud. Payment related issues, perhaps you are having trouble to add your payment method, or some payment doesn't go through, or maybe you want to get some additional details or work on your invoice or stuff like that. That is covered by the support. Node configuration not working, like any of these tabs, right? Like access filters, encryption, cannot set it up, let us know, we'll help you. How to migrate to a higher tier. If you just want to, I don't know, ask a theoretical question like what will happen if like this and that will happen with my node, will I be able to migrate or whatever, we'll also gladly help you, like especially right now in the beginning, when we do understand like this is a new product for everyone, and many people have a lot of the questions. So I can verify you that right now we're actually making not even one but two extra steps, doing more than we would actually should do under this cloud support tier. And we're really trying to help everyone out, making sure that everyone get the best user experience out of our new product. Zabbix software related questions are out of the scope. So Zabbix support must be purchased for ability to ask those questions. And the Zabbix software related questions, I mean like how to create a trigger, or how to set up an action, how to create some sort of the template to monitor, you know, Cisco device over SNMPv3 or something like that. It's not going to be covered by the cloud support. Like either you can go to, again, zabbix.com/services. You can purchase consultancy hours, like if you want to talk with our experts about some of concerning questions, or you can really purchase the support. And for the support, like there's no difference whether your instance is in the cloud or on-prem or whatever, right? And even like if you have your server in a Zabbix cloud, very likely you're still going to have some proxies sitting on-prem, some agents, some other stuff, integrations, whatever, which will be perfectly covered by the support tier if you decide to purchase it. And this is how the support forum looks itself. Like you can see on the left navigation bar, there's the support tab. So you just create some sort of a summary about the problem. You can choose from the issue types, and right now there's just a few of them, like node is not working, payment related issues, other questions, and well, sort of not an issue, but right now we also have the issue type like my feedback about the Zabbix cloud, because right now during the release that's like super important for us to listen what is happening, what the community is thinking about the cloud, what we perhaps should change, adjust, create new, or maybe remove from the cloud to make sure that everyone are satisfied. If the issue is happening related to some node, and then you'll be also able to choose like from the node list that you have, so that our engineers can have a better initial information from the support request. Security matters, especially if we talk about the SaaS platform, like, and right, and I love to like explain it whenever we develop a Zabbix as a software and just publish it in our repositories and say like, there you go, you can go and download it. It basically means that, okay, we created some tools and then give it to you, and you are fully responsible to use those tools, make sure about safety using those tools, like you're the boss. But with a Zabbix cloud, with a SaaS platform, we're holding those tools for you. We are taking care of the Zabbix installation. We're taking care about the operating system. We're taking care about the database, and we're also taking care about the security to like protect your data and make sure that there are basically no attack vectors where anyone could do some harm, not only like to the Zabbix cloud as a platform, but specifically to the customer content and their information, their instances, and all of their configuration. And that's why like all the architecture designs were made towards the security, and in many cases in expense of like our convenience. So we went the more complicated paths, but just to make sure that the instances are more secure. That's why all of the nodes are 100% isolated, run on a separate infrastructure. Nothing is shared. Each user has a separate database, a separate environment. Like they're not even close each to other one, not even in theory. All software is up to date. Like we keep a track on everything that is happening. Like if there are some vulnerabilities, that's fully our responsibility to patch everything in a timely fashion. Certificate encryption. Um, for those like who work with a Zabbix, those probably already understand. Those who maybe don't, you will understand with the time that most likely for your convenience, whenever you will be using the Zabbix cloud and you want to monitor some of your on-prem environments, you will want to use the Zabbix proxy, because if you don't use the proxy, it basically means that you're responsible to like whitelist every single device, every single server that you have in your environment to being able to connect to the Zabbix cloud, which creates a lot of trouble for the maintenance and makes it like close to impossible actually to handle. But in the case of the Zabbix proxy, like you install it in your environment. There's no limitation on how many proxies you might have. You might have like 10, 20, 100, 1,000 proxies, and the proxy is responsible to collect all of the data from the monitored environment within your internal network. And then you have just one endpoint, this one single proxy to who you need to make sure that the connection between the proxy and the server can happen. Like proxy will transmit all the data to the server, who will be responsible to analyze the data, check the triggers, right? And there you'll also be able to see the graphs and then run some actions, escalations, and stuff like that. Which why it is possible to create certificate encryption between these components. So with the certificate encryption, you can use to encrypt communication between the server and the proxy, and server and the agents as well. And right now it is implemented in a way that on a node configuration in the Cloud UI, you go to the encryption tab, find the encryption, and just upload all of the certificates that you plan to use. And I already can tell that in the back of our heads, like we really want to make a cloud accessible for everyone, even without without extensive technical knowledge in all of the related stuff. And for some, it might seem like, okay, I just need certificates, so I will go generate something, right, and import them here and there and set up everything up. But for someone else, this might sound like, cool. I can encrypt everything. I need certificates. I have no idea where to get them. I have no idea how to create them. And one of the things for the future is also to make sure that everything is easy and convenient for not so much experienced users. So I think eventually we'll give some easy workflow or button or whatever to make sure that, okay, like if you want, we can create like self-signed certificates and apply them right away and give for you to download the setup on the other end. But if you want to use like your own certificates, go ahead and just upload. Yes, and security also comes at a price. And as I said, like we had to make many decisions to choose between convenience in some way. In some way, it was our convenience. In some way, it was user convenience, and also the security and making sure that the nodes are protected, which led us to a need to make a couple of not easy decisions. And all not easy decisions basically mean that we had to make some Zabbix functionality not available in the cloud. And those functionalities right now are the no remote commands on a Zabbix server. Like if we talk about the front-end scripts in the cloud, in the Zabbix front-end, or about the actions, where instead of just sending a notification or email to the users, you might run some script. You will not be able to do that on the Zabbix server, right? You can still run it like on a proxy, on a monitored host without a problem, but not on the server. No web authentication for the Zabbix frontend. You can use internal authentication, you can use LDAP, you can use SSO. For SAML, SAML is supported, but right now there's missing the functionality to upload the certificates in the front end. That is going to come also very soon. Because like allowing to upload anything, we need to really check it very carefully. Like it's not so easy to just say, there you go, upload anything. We really need to validate and make sure that the stuff that is being uploaded is like really what's it meant to be, and not some remote script instead of the certificates. ODBC support right now is covered only for the MySQL and the PostgreSQL. If you are running ODBC monitoring through your Zabbix server, let's say if you want to monitor Microsoft SQL, you can still do that, but for that, you will have to install the Zabbix proxy. If you want to monitor MySQL, you can do that straight from your Zabbix server, which is in the Zabbix cloud. No alert scripts and no external scripts. If you want to use external scripts, you can do that on the proxy. It's not going to work in a Zabbix cloud server. And alert scripts, yeah, those are just not supported, but you can still use the webhooks that are configurable through the Zabbix front, and you can use the JavaScript. Like if there's already a bunch of out-of-the-box integrations, like if you want to receive notifications in, I don't know, Teams, Telegram, Jira, or OTRS, and much, much more, just go check it out. No SNMP traps on the server node. This was probably the most painful for us. Like we really wanted to deliver SNMP traps, and it's very easy with SNMP v1 traps. It's very easy with SNMP v2 traps, but it's very complicated for v3. And because whenever we talk about SNMP v3 traps, we know that we need to create a users, and each SNMP v3 user has something like 6 parameters that you need to specify, authentication tokens. And for each monitored device, it is also necessary to provide engine ID, which also has to be unique for each device. So we basically had 2 options. First, allow you to upload your own SNMP trap config file that you prepare like on your side, and then just upload in the cloud. Which after a lot of evaluation, we found that it's still too big of a security concern for us to make sure that it's validated to the max, and we're 100% sure that there's no like malicious lines or anything in this config. We cannot guarantee that. And the second option was to move configuration of all the users for SNMP traps to the cloud UI. But considering the scale and the size, like how many of those users you might have, we're talking about hundreds, maybe even thousands, it initially essentially would create the cloud UI as some spreadsheet, right, with like 7 or 8 columns and hundreds and thousands of rows, which would just create the user experience pretty awful. So right now for the release, we decided to not go with SNMP trap support on the Zabbix Cloud server node. So through the proxy, everything works. In the future, when we develop like Zabbix Cloud API engine as example, we may rethink this, and perhaps we'll just give some another entry point where you can configure all of that, still making sure that security is in place. And if we talk about the roadmap, like right now it's pretty big, and as I said, like there's a lot of demand, like from our users, from our team, and just overall our plans to the cloud, because right now it's in very early stage, and I've mentioned multiple times, like it has all of the core functionality that like Zabbix has and that the cloud needs to work for our customers and the users, but there's still a lot of place and room for the growth. We have a lot of the plans for the product, and like one of them is the partner enablement. If you are around with the Zabbix, you know that the partners is something which like stands in the core of the company and the product, and we also want to give some possibility like to our existing partners and also to new potential partners to work not only with the Zabbix as like on-prem installation product, but also with the Zabbix Cloud. We're super focused right now on getting all the answers for migration from on-prem to the Zabbix Cloud, right? And this is also a difficult topic. Like from one side, we would really want to have some automated solution so that anyone can just, I don't know, do something like make a backup of the database, put it somewhere, and essentially receive the Zabbix Cloud node, which has absolutely everything the same. I don't think it's going to be entirely possible because there are too many things to consider, and we don't want to create something which says like, hey, do this and that, and it will include like automated migration, and in the end say like, okay, 30% of your on-prem installation doesn't work inside a cloud, so it's not here. We don't want to give those false expectations and then some bad experience in the end. So right now looks that there are two options. Like if you want to migrate from on-prem to the cloud, you can always, of course, do that yourself and by yourself. I would say the most convenient way is just export, import all of the templates, export, import the hosts. You have API available on your on-prem installation and also in the cloud. So you can move majority of the stuff, and there's still always going to be something that has to be done manually. And another option is definitely going to be possible like through the Zabbix commercial services, when we can do the assessment of your existing environment, tell you straight away what we can move to the cloud, what we cannot, what are the options to work that situation around, and if that is what you agree to, then we can continue to deliver the service. Support of proxies in the cloud, and don't mess this up. Like proxies do work in the cloud. You can install the proxy in Azure and connect it to your Zabbix Cloud node. You can install proxy locally, but what we also want to add to the Zabbix Cloud is ability to not only create a Zabbix server, but also create a Zabbix proxies. And what's important that not necessarily the proxy has to be connected with your Zabbix Cloud server node, right? Perhaps you don't even need the server in the cloud. Maybe you have a server on-prem, but you have distributed I don't know, company network or whatever, and you need to monitor something in Asia, something in Latin America, something in the United States. So in the future, you will be able to deploy those proxies in all of those regions in the cloud and connect them also to your on-prem server. Special pricing for long-term commitments. Like right now, the pricing is subscription-based. You pay every month. There's no option right now to pay like for a year in advance, but that's also something we're going to add. And for those who are ready to let's say have a bond with the Zabbix Cloud for a year, 2, 3, maybe even more, we will so of course offer the special discounted prices. Prepaid options, which will be good to interact with our sales team. Like the cloud is pretty much self-service portal, and that's the direction we want to grow. But there's also always going to be a part of communication with the company, with the sales, and having some bigger deals, right? Perhaps the cloud node is not the only thing that you want to purchase. Maybe you are just starting up your monitoring journey, and you want to tie yourself with a Zabbix, so you know that okay, I'm gonna need this cloud node. I'm gonna need it for 3 years, and I also want to purchase a template building because we have these devices that we want to monitor with a Zabbix, and I'm also want to get enterprise support. So you will be able to communicate all of that with our sales, ask all of your questions, get all of the answers, and essentially like have one invoice, which will also include the payment for your cloud node. Backup improvements, as I said previously, like we will add a bit more functionality for that, and audit for the Zabbix Cloud nodes. Like right now, the audit log is available for the Zabbix frontend as it usually is, but we'll also give you more information in the cloud UI itself, so that you are aware like what was happening with the nodes, when was there some maintenance, when someone reset the password, when someone upgraded or downgraded, or whatever else that might happen. And if you want to talk about a Zabbix Cloud, this is a bit of outdated slide, like ignore the first 2 points. All right, that was more for the Zabbix Summit, which has already ended. Also for the webinars like this right now, where we're sitting, is basically like the last one that we have scheduled, but I'm sure there's going to be more webinars coming, like from the Zabbix or maybe from our subsidiaries, also Zabbix Latam or Zabbix Japan. And we're listening quite a lot in all of the social media, LinkedIn, Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere, Telegram, right? So we're really listening to your feedback, your experience with the Zabbix Cloud, and trying to make some decisions based on that. And of course, also if you want to talk about the cloud and you have some specific questions, you can always contact us. There's a form and all the contact details in the zabbix.com to reach out, most likely to the sales, and ask the questions that you're interested to. And somewhere closer to the end of this presentation, I remember that I forgot to introduce myself. Those who are with a Zabbix probably already know me, like Dmitry, and for some amount of the time, I'm head of the product in the Zabbix, and very much also responsible for making sure that the Zabbix Cloud is delivered to you. And yeah, I'm also very eager to hear all of the feedback. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say to you, and then I can try to dig into the questions. We have 22 of them, so I'll just start slowly, and hopefully we'll get to the end. That Zabbix has industrial mining use cases with the local deployment. I don't know. That's yeah, like as you said, it's not related to the cloud. In the Zabbix com, we have I don't remember in which section exactly, but there was use cases and case studies, right? But essentially, it's not so much about the industry, maybe mining or banking or retail or whatever. It's more about the stuff that you want to monitor, whether we're talking about some services or about some industrial machines. For those, like the Zabbix supports the Modbus and MQTT, which usually like is sufficient to gather all the data. So Um, we love to say that Zabbix can monitor anything, and it's just a matter of like really putting on a paper all of your needs. Reach out to us, and we'll definitely find like how we can help you and set everything up. Will it be possible to use custom alert scripts on a Zabbix Cloud? Yeah, that's already answered. Custom alert scripts are not supported in the Zabbix Cloud, and that's done specifically because of this security requirement, because that would mean that we need to allow you to upload alert scripts. And for alert script, there's really like no pattern that we could say like, okay, this is allowed to do and that is not allowed to do. So we're pretty much limited to understand whether this something that you are uploading is a good thing, or it's something malicious that's trying to interfere somehow with the customer node. Most of the use cases are for network device monitoring and LTE KPI monitoring. Yeah, but I don't know. Like, if you want to talk about something specific for you, I would really encourage you to go to the contact us and schedule some call. Maybe schedule some demo with our team and prepare like at least some brief requirements, what you are looking for, what kind of devices you have, or protocols you are interested to, and I'm sure we'll get some answers to you. Most network devices are SNMP supported using vendors like Arista, Cisco, Nokia, Juniper. Yeah, SNMP wise, Zabbix has no problems with that. For SNMP agent, it's V1, V2, V3. And for SNMP traps, as I said, like if it's on-prem, then no problem at all. If it's in the cloud, then you'll have to use the proxies, but you can set everything up and monitor just like you need. EPC, which is LTE packet core, is based on Nokia. Okay, that's not really a question, more like a fact. What database does it use on the back? An example, does it use PostgreSQL with timescale DB for compression storage savings? I can tell you like there's no compression, but we're not really talking about the technology stack that we use. Um, that's sort of like our little secret, our recipe for the Zabbix cloud, and it's also fully our responsibility. Right now, we have chosen the technology stack, also including the database, based on like what's happening right now, based on our plans and considerations and experience. We choose like what's the best for the performance and the reliability, and if this changes over time, which is very likely it will in the period of some years, then it's going to be our responsibility to move all of the customers to some new database engine or some new operating system or distribution or whatever else. In which cases in Zabbix Cloud it's recommended and in which it is not? I think it's like very similar in all of the cases when you're considering whether you want to go with a SaaS product or you want to go with a self installation, local installation, right? The SaaS will have less work to do for you, and in some way, it's also going to have a lower costs to keep everything running. Like you don't need to worry about the hardware expenses, storage going faulty, patching, upgrading, keeping an eye on that environment. Because like essentially, if we're talking about the full-blown monitoring setup for some enterprise company, it's not going to be enough to have like one people in the team who is monitoring the monitor, right? You're going to need more, which costs quite a lot. You need to train them and do all the stuff. So in this case, the cloud takes away all the maintenance stuff and you get to use just the good stuff. But at the same time, of course, for many, like despite of me talking a lot about security and how important it is, for many, they feel maybe not even like feel more complicated, but it's a crucial point for them to be the owner of the data and keep everything like in their servers and their data centers. No matter the cost, no matter the complexity, they don't want to put any data like somewhere in the cloud. They consider that the risk is too high. So for those cases, the local installation might be more suitable. And also, like if you noticed in the previous slides, right now, the highest tier of the Zabbix cloud is kept to the 10,000 new values per second. So if your instance is having, let's say, 20,000 new values per second, you either need to split up all of your monitoring setup to two nodes, or it means that you need to go with the on-premise installation. But essentially, I would say that it's like Zabbix Cloud is not a competitor to the local installation, and vice versa. It's just another option that we give to our users. Otherwise, like we will always just on-prem installation, and if someone comes who really wants to do the SaaS, that they do understand that they need the monitoring, but they want to have the SaaS service, and they ask if we have it, we say no, and that's it. Our communication ends on that. And right now we have this different directions our potential users and customers can choose on. Mining use autonomous Hull systems, and we want monitoring using a SNMP from various types of network devices, EPCs, server-based application. Well, as I said, like a SNMP is not a problem for the Zabbix at all. Yeah. Is the VAT calculated based on US tax or VAT? VAT is calculated for European countries. And if you're a third country, then the VAT is not calculated. And right now, if you're from the European country, the legislation forces us to, right now, everyone in the Europe are charged Latvian VAT. Like the Zabbix as a company is located in Latvia, and in Latvia, VAT is 21%. And in the beginning, like even if you are from the Germany and you're purchasing Zabbix Cloud Node, you will have to pay, if you're not the company, you will have to pay 21% VAT till some time when we reach like the number of the customers higher than some threshold in legislation, then we will have to switch to the VAT of that specific country. For United States, I think you can check that in the Zabbix cloud itself, but I think like VAT is you don't need to pay VAT in the cloud itself. Yeah, but better check in the cloud. Like I'm not sure about specific countries. The country of the company using Zabbix cloud, that is Latvia. Zabbix headquarters is in Latvia, Riga, and Zabbix cloud is also basically in Latvia, Riga, but at the same time we have subsidiaries in Latin America, in Brazil, in Mexico, subsidiary in the Zabbix Japan, but subsidiary in Japan, Tokyo, and yeah, that's for now, but that's also a matter to change in the future. What happens when you exceed the VPS values per second of your selected tier? Happens what has to happen, which is not like the best thing for the users. We don't accept more than your tier offers. So if you choose the tier of 50 Mbps and you configure the monitoring, which should deliver 60 Mbps, 10 values per second, well, approximately 10, 8 values per second will be dropped. And you are not able to predict like which values exactly will be dropped. So it's going to be random. But we will send you a warnings, operational email saying that your tier is approaching the ceiling of your compute tier. So perhaps it's time to upgrade or just change the configuration. Does it support MFA multi-factor authentication? Cloud UI itself doesn't support MFA right now. It has OTP through your email, but the Zabbix frontend does support MFA. We have a trial going for the Zabbix Cloud, but there is little to no documentation that we can find on configuring things like internal proxies and other stuff. Is there a document repository location to see configuration steps? Additionally, we try to test some ICMP ping checks, but we're getting notices that the operation is not permitted. Looking to resolve that. As far as the documentation, you know, that's something we'll have to work just to make it a bit more clear for the users, because we have a documentation for the Zabbix as as a monitoring software. And it's applicable for both the local installations and for the cloud as well. So if you will go like to the Zabbix.com and find documentation, or just in your Zabbix front end, I think it was the top right corner, there's also the shortcut to the documentation. You can find about like proxies or anything else, and do the same steps. The only thing is like whenever something is required to, I know what's the example, like it's not going to be with the proxies, but keep in mind that you don't have SSH access. Like if you want to set up the encryption in the documentation, it's going to be said that, hey, you need to like SSH to the server and put the certificates here and there and then restart the service. But with the case of the Zabbix Cloud, you just go to the Cloud UI and upload the certificates through the UI, and that's it. We do everything in the background. But if you're new to the Zabbix, I would definitely like suggest first of all reading documentation, then do the googling. There's Zabbix blog, there's Zabbix forum. The community in the Zabbix is like super friendly and active to answer all of your questions. There's Zabbix channel in the YouTube explaining a lot of the functionalities and how to set up. You will also find me in the YouTube if you search for the Zabbix with like 120 or 130 videos about the Zabbix tutorials. So you can find the information. Like if you're really stuck, you can always get like, I don't know, 1 hour consultancy as a commercial service from Zabbix. Yeah. About the ICMP thing, it is a problem right now. It was already reported. We already found the issue. The issue is already fixed, and most likely it's going to be delivered like to all of your nodes in the next maintenance period. It was a very minor problem, so that is fixed. Yeah. Could you please explain us a little about configuring proxy in this platform? Well, there's not much to explain. The proxy works in two modes, active proxy and a passive proxy. Active proxy means that the proxy is the one who's initiating the connection to the server. And in case of the passive one, it means that the server is connected to the proxy. You configure them from the Zabbix frontend. I think the menu was administration proxies where you create it and you choose whether it's going to be active or passive. If it is active, then I don't remember. If it is active, then on the proxy that you set up in your environment, you need to specify the parameter in the config file, which will essentially be the IP address or DNS name of your Zabbix cloud. And the proxy name must match the proxy name configured in the Zabbix frontend. That's it. And if it's passive, then in the Zabbix frontend, you need to provide IP address of the proxy. And again, the proxy name in the Zabbix frontend must match the proxy name configured in the proxy config file. Yeah, but just search in the Google setting up Zabbix proxy, you'll find either a video or some blog going into details. Are you using compression on the database? We're getting about 10-to-1 compression with the timescale DB for our on-site instance and would need to factor that into the cost. So we don't use compression right now. This might be the subject to change, but right now we don't. So yes, if you're running a timescale DB in your local installation with a compression enable, you need to factor that when you're calculating how much storage you would need in the cloud. If you downgrade service mid-month, is the bill prorated? Yes. Yes, if you downgrade the service in the middle of the month, you will still get the chance to use like the highest tier that you had. I think I don't want to confuse you about the pricing. And when you go to the cloud UI and when you like select whether or not you want to downgrade or upgrade, it's going to tell you also what exactly is going to happen. I know you said you cannot downgrade upgraded storage, but can you choose less storage on initial setup? Let's say you wanted to process 200 bps, but you only need 50 gigs. Yes, you can. That's just the recommended that we say, like 500 gigs as example, but you can choose as much as you need. Is it possible to import my customized template? Yes, 100%. You can upload templates, import templates through the Zabbix front, and then do everything just like on local installation. SNMP traps will not work even if we are using Zabbix proxy. They will. If you will use the Zabbix proxy and set up that the traps are monitored through the proxy, which then delivers the data to the Zabbix server, everything will work just fine. Do the weekly backups consume your allocated storage space? No, backups do not count in the storage space that you have selected. The weekly one, like the price for that is already inside the price of the storage, and for extra ones that you create, like you pay separately. What about custom keys, which run scripts locally on the servers? You mean user parameters or something like that with the agents? Like as long as that's not the Zabbix server node, all of that is supported. You can still install agent on your Windows machine or Linux machine, whatever, create some custom keys that run some scripts and use them in the Zabbix cloud to get the data. Is Zabbix Cloud ready for monitoring cloud infrastructure and services like Gkey? Not sure what exactly Gkey is, unfortunately, but it is ready to monitor like cloud infrastructure and services and hardware and databases and software and anything else. Like there's no limitation in terms of cloud installation or on-prem. We even have already out of the box available templates to monitor like AWS or Azure or GCP. You can use all of them in the cloud, just set them up, provide authentication tokens to access your cloud tenant, and the monitoring happens. Thanks for your time. Thank you guys for joining and listening for me for already a bit more than an hour. Is it advisable to migrate to Zabbix Cloud if the tool is already installed? It depends. It depends on your situation and your need. Like if you're feeling super comfortable managing your own Zabbix installation, doing the upgrades, keeping track with new requirements that essentially like at some point your database will be outdated and you will need to upgrade. At some point, the operating system version that you have will not support the libraries that you need, so you will need to upgrade that as well. If you're fine with that, you can stay on like local installation. We're not planning to force people to move to the cloud. We don't plan to like decommission on-prem installation. So we don't plan to add additional functionality in the Zabbix itself in the cloud comparing to on-prem. It's still going to be the same. So it's absolutely your decision, like what's the most convenient for you. What happens in the event of a cyber attack and all data is encrypted? I guess it's if all data is encrypted or destroyed. Well, I must say that in the development and in our day-to-day life, like we do everything for that to not be possible, and we have penetration testing going on before the release, and it's going to also happen during the release, and we're also going to apply to the HackerOne for the cloud, and we're also doing ISO certification this year for the cloud, and eventually we will also 100% have some additional certifications and compliance for the Zabbix cloud, just to prove to our potential customers that we're like pretty much serious on everything that is happening here. But well, I don't know, worst case scenario, despite of everything, something happens and let's say your node is encrypted or destroyed, I would say the best recovery is the restoration from the backup. Backup is somewhere completely away from your node. So even if your node is set on fire and then all the bad things happen with it, it will not interfere with the backups that you have. Are there any SLAs associated with the Zabbix cloud service, uptime, response times, etc.? For the Zabbix Cloud, the availability is 24/7. Is if we talk about the specific SLA's numbers, we're pretty much tied to what AWS offers to us, and that is 99.95%. If we talk about the response time, no, for the support response time, like we don't have any SLAs or anything, just because we do have them in the commercial support. Like if you purchase gold, enterprise, platinum, whatever, and you create a ticket saying that, hey, my Zabbix server died, support engineers don't care whether or not the Zabbix server is located in the cloud or on-prem. They still will react within the terms of SLAs to make sure that the node is up and running again. But if we talk about the Zabbix cloud, then of course, like if the node is not running, right, something happened, that is the responsibility of the platform and responsibility of us as a service provider. And trust me, of course, you can always create a ticket, but we will know that even before you create a ticket. And we have all the escalation mechanisms and workflows, everything ready to, first of all, make sure that such cases are, like, I don't want to say don't happen at all because we live in like real life, but are minimized as much as it's possible. But even if they happen, we will have the resources allocated to make sure that your node is returned to the live as fast as possible. Which is the difference between the Zabbix cloud versus Zabbix server on virtual machine on a cloud computing? What's the benefit? The benefit is that Zabbix server on a virtual machine on cloud computing, you still manage it. You're responsible for the upgrades. You're responsible for the patching, even if that's a virtual machine in AWS. You're responsible to tune it, tune the Zabbix server config file, tune the database, upgrade the database, do all the stuff under the hood. And with the Zabbix Cloud, you don't even have the access to SSH to the server because you don't need it. We do everything for you. You get to use just the Zabbix Cloud UI and Zabbix frontend. You can build some integrations on top of API and enjoy just the good stuff. No open questions. We went through, I think we had like 30 something questions, and we're talking for 1 hour and 30 minutes, 25. So if no additional questions, then I just want to say, oh, I just see that, yeah, I just noticed in the chat, and this person who was asking about the mining industry in the Zabbix, check agenda, go to the zabbix.com and check agenda of, go to the zabbix.com, find the Zabbix Summit 2024 and check agenda of day one. There was a speech at 5 p.m. Zabbix in mining, benefits of host discovery and automatic creation of maps and hosts. So that was specifically the use case about the Zabbix in the mining industry. Other than that, thank you guys for coming. There's one additional question. I don't see an option to add another user to the Zabbix Cloud account where you see your notes. Can you add other users and how? Right now, you don't. That's also one of the things that's going to come as one of the first new features that we add during the already production of the cloud. It will be possible to have more users and also delegate the permissions. Other than that, once again, thank you guys for tuning in to this webinar. I'm super pleased to present you the Zabbix Cloud, and I hope that all of you try it out. I've actually may have missed it during the presentation, but I will tell it now. Like for those who are still left, Zabbix Cloud also offers the free trial, so you don't actually need to pay any money or provide any billing details or add your credit card to try it out. The only thing that you need to do is go to the cloud.zabbix.com and find registration sign up, we will accept you, log in, and you will have your chance to create your first trial node that will work for 5 days and have like all of the core functionality that Zabbix has, like no limitations on that. And if after 5 days you decide that it's not for you, very well, maybe we'll meet again after some time. And if you try it out and you find that it is for you and you do enjoy the Zabbix Cloud, and maybe you want to start some monitoring or start to transition some of the existing environment, you can always upgrade to the paid node and then continue your life cycle by like choosing the tier that you need and how much storage you need and all of that stuff. So once again, for the third time, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed and hope you learned something new. We're going to wrap up on this. So see you later. Maybe we'll meet on some other webinars or conferences or whatever. And hopefully to see you in the Zabbix Cloud as a user and our customer. So thank you. Goodbye.